How's it going, guys? Coffee here. Today I wanted to go over some of the things that I have changed and some of the new things I've found out and tried personally in regards to farming Trial of the Ancestors. I'm now rank 1100. I started putting this off a little bit after pushing about 1k, but these are some of the things that I've started to do, I guess, to ensure that I have higher win rates as I push into these higher ranks and don't run into any issues. First things first, one of the more recent things I've added is the use of Void Sphere. I use Void Sphere with a second wind support. This gives it 3 total charges, which ensures that it basically has permanent uptime while we are inside of the arena. You can't cast it a second time while it's already down, so the extra charges you have are going to basically hold until the duration ends. You can see here it lasts 7.85 seconds and the cooldown time is 11.76 here. I am using it with increased area of effect and increased duration. The thing with Void Sphere is you're kind of still able to get the legacy reverse knockback effect with this, where you'll see it pulling monsters in repeatedly. I'll showcase this after I go over some of these other things that I've tried and tested personally. One of the other things that a lot of people have been doing in these higher ranks that I've come across as well is most people are using a setup using Ensnaring Arrow with Chance to Flee, Blind Support, and Greater Multiple Projectiles inside of a Ballista Totem. Ensnaring Arrow itself can trigger curses on hit as well, even as a totem, so if you want to put Ensnaring Arrow down in a totem with some temporal on hit gloves, you can do that, and you can basically use the totems. The Ensnaring Arrows will trigger to basically slow things down a lot, and then you can temporal change them on top of that, and if you have chill effect, you can get chill effect on top of that even. For when it comes to defensive layers, people have realized that if you either evade an attack, block an attack, or dodge an attack, then you will be able to continue channeling. So a lot of people are making characters with very little HP or even all the way down to 1 HP. They are using the Widowhail bow with Rearguard Arrow Quiver. The Widowhail bow can provide up to 250% effect of the quiver, which if you do use that with Rearguard, you are maxing out your attack block and nearly maxing out your spell block already with just the Rearguard. And for the extra spell block that you need, you can just run Rainbowstrides. In order to get that, these are going to be like 1 or 2 chaos each. The bow itself will probably be the most expensive thing. Last I looked, for like the better bows, like the 240% plus for Widowhail, we're going for maybe about 50 chaos. Personally, my build does a decent amount of damage, so I don't need to run any of these like 0 HP kind of build versions that are relying on basically what they'll end up doing is they'll end up picking up Acrobatics to just get 75% spell dodge, since suppression doesn't really help you. You just typically get one shot or not, basically. So dodge is better when you stack that on top of just high evasion along with block. You're basically just adding a lot of extra defensive layers. Some people have gone as far as to push it all the way into picking up CI while stacking that evasion and dodge and block. In order to make them immune to the chaos degens from Death's Guide and from all the chaos attacks from Tahu, the chaos attacker. But personally myself, the only one that I've actually added to my build is Void Sphere. It was a pretty easy to slot in. I had a setup for Divine Blessing Determination in here, but I don't really use it because it doesn't make enough of a difference to prevent me from getting one shot. So let me go ahead and showcase, I guess, how I kind of do things nowadays. Nothing has really changed too much since the last video. I still pretty much hyper focus on either Field Masters or on Thunderbirds. Typically it'll depend on what I actually have and then the difficulty of the matchups. Again, as I kind of went over before, for first rounds, I don't like to go against Ahuana in the first round because her team is pretty much going to be fully either the Sages or the Spear Dancers, both of which are going to kind of like target you and kill you off screen. Ikiaho is a fine one for doing off screen. They do have Tide Callers, which are ranged, but the rest of them are pretty much easy to handle. Rockiata can be kind of annoying as well because also they use spear enemies. But let's go ahead and go here with Ikiaho because we're just going to focus to try to get a Thunderbird because we already have a Field Master here from our last match. Let's go ahead and go in here through. So for the first rounds, always, basically what I'll do is I'll always end up with 4 people on flanking first. I'm going to put 4 people on flanking and then 2 people on attack over here on the lower side. As I go in, again, I'm typically going to drop my totems in mid. What I've started to do as I've started to push into these later ranks is I started to be a little bit more patient because they can see like I already start to get targeted by these enemies very quickly and they start to really kind of want to chase me down. So I try not to channel until I'm already seeing something else on my team already channeling. Because as you saw there, I stopped channeling for just a second, and then I was able to get killed. If you see the Void Sphere there, it did pull in 3 monsters already. So I'm going to see something channeling back here, so I'm just going to go ahead and help him because it seems like there's an opening there. You do have to play a little bit more defense and offense at these higher ranks a little more often to make sure you're keeping an eye on things to make sure you don't lose something early. Once you kind of snowball a few towers, you're typically okay. I'll defend this anyways, but you can see I can drop... Oh, I died. Typically, again, I was about to drop Void Sphere here just to lock up the 2 enemies that are here. It does help a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if I just end up losing my tower, but we're far enough ahead now that even just the units I have left would be able to kind of carry things. You see Void Sphere here, it does kind of pull that enemy in. The Void Sphere combined with the totems works really well in terms of just getting everything stacked together since the Shockwave totems are AoE as well, so we didn't have to rely on Void Sphere too much that time, but we did end up getting that. So first things first, always, again, go and buy your unit from Navali, and then we go through here for the Thunderbird. We're just going to end up basically selling. I typically like to sell my Honored Warriors. I like the 2 Ataras because I'm pretty sure they're a little bit faster than the Honored Warriors, and typically I end up with like my 3 weakest units as my escorts later. Once I started to get more units, but so the Honored Warrior is typically the first to go for me. So we got nothing else here because we just forced just a Thunderbird, and we got nothing else here. Personally, for the first like 3 or 4 rounds, pretty much, I'm always just going to focus purely on actual influence more so than the rewards, unless the reward like is going to be like over at least 50 chaos basically. So for 8 chaos, I wouldn't typically pick this just because of it being 8 chaos. In this case, I am going to pick this just because it's going to be enough for us to get another Thunderbird, because of the fact that we have Fire Breather, which is not a very good unit because he just runs in and basically dies and then has to respawn. But he does sell for 300. So combining that with the 500 we can get from here, we're going to go ahead and get that. The other option, if you didn't want to go that route, is the recommendation would be for like Tahanuku, so you could get a Spear Dancer with the Ramako Tribe influence here. Ahuana, again, like if you have a build that works well for it, where you can kind of sit in the back, like if you're playing SRS or something where you can kind of just throw the minions out and you're not really worried about the spear enemies killing you off screen, then you could also run Ahuana as well to get another Field Master, but I know this build struggles with them, so I'm not going to go ahead and try to do that yet. And then I will typically again fill out my attack layer first and my flankers. I haven't had as much issues with needing to put anything in defense first lately, but one thing I have done is I don't put anything on escort pretty much for a while now, because of the fact that when you die on escort, your escort minions will basically run all the way back to your totem. They won't really do that much fighting, and as I've gotten into higher ranks, I'm spending more and more time dead because it's a lot more punishing. All it takes is one little mistake of basically sitting still a little bit too long, and then you do get targeted. So again, this is still just using a lot of Void Sphere and totems to kind of distract things while helping the units channel on whatever's going on here. So I'm not getting targeted down here, but this Tide Caller is trying to get me, so I'm just going to help these other units over here. If I do see something spawn, I am going to Void Sphere it here. As you see, it's going to pull in everything over here, which is going to help. And then once you kind of get ahead by a few units, like your units will pretty much clean up everything without too many issues. And from here you can just channel away as normal. I don't even know what killed me. But doesn't matter, we're already far enough ahead that we don't have to worry about it. And we can just wait here for the team to finish up. Clean it up, on to the next round. So we have a few options again. If you didn't want to sell the fire breather, you could just sell a couple of the other units instead. I like to just have more units early on in the early rounds. Having more units just makes it a little bit harder, or gives you a little bit less chance to just ending up dying early and then just losing because of it. So from here, the best units that we have, looks like we have here, we can get a spear unit from Tasalio, and we can get a Tide Caller here from Arohongui. So let's go ahead and do here. Akoya, again, they're using a lot of, they don't really have ranged units, so we don't have to worry about them too much. And I typically add a couple of defenders here now. Oh, let's add a 4th unit here on attack, and we'll just have the 1 defender. But I don't put anything on escort until the very end, personally now, just because, again, I am dying a lot more often. But something that I do typically try to do now is I will try to bait a little bit for my units, because as soon as I tap on a tower, I am getting targeted by things now. By pretty much everything wants to target me. As you saw there, the Void Sphere prevented that unit that was trying to get on me there. Let's try to stop this spawning here. I was a little slow. The Void Sphere will help here and hold that unit while we go ahead and channel here. So Void Sphere has helped a lot in terms of just cleaning things up, removing a lot of the stress of things like that where you'd randomly get attacked by something. It does keep things off of you a lot longer than some of the other things. We can go here. This match is already over. We can just gotta go clean everything up now. As you can see, the matches are pretty fast still. My totems are still doing a decent amount of damage, so if you are playing a build that's lower damage, you might want to go with one of the more evasive strategies where you are running that, you know, either maximum block or maximum evasion along with spell dodge, or all three of them combined. It really depends. I typically try not to just fully build a character that can't really be used in maps, but you know, sometimes you don't really have an option. So first things first, again, we're gonna go to Navali here, buy this. For this one, I prefer this if you can actually, if you end up finding a unit that has an item, it is very helpful on stages like this, because we're going to need to sell a unit in order to get the Tide Caller, and we're going to need to sell a unit in order to get the, I think, the Spearmaster. I don't recall the name exactly. But, so it would be nice if there was if there was a unit that had favor there. Oh no, the Spearfishers are 600 as well. It's these ones that are the Spear Dancers that are 650. These ones are 650. Yeah. So when those are 650, you have to. There's a lot of turns where you end up having to sell 2 units, which is not ideal if you can get away with not doing it. Typically, if I have like an item that I can buy for 200 here, I would sell that in order to avoid having to sell the other unit. But we had to sell one, so that's what we did. At this stage, I've started to build enough of a comp that I could run Ahuana if I wanted to, but Ahuana has the best tattoos in the game currently. They are about to do a patch that is going to release more tattoos, so this might change, but right now Ahuana is the one who gives the +1 projectiles tattoo, so I'm always trying to keep Ahuana as the final person left. Personally here, again, if you wanted the 9 Chaos, you could go Tahanuku, but for me, I'm typically playing for big rewards only now, so I'm just going to continue to just try to snowball the advantage as much as I can. So I'm just going to go Utula here, just so I can get this extra reward here, because I know I can convert this 400 from Tahoa into Tasalio in order to get another spear. what are they, Spearmaster or whatever they're called here, Spearfisher. I can get into their Spearfisher from Tesalio, and then this 900 I can either get a Jade Hulk or a Jade Shaman, whatever is actually there on the NPC. So Tide Callers are really good on defense, Spearfishers are really good on defense. They are both ranged units. I like running the Consuming Kune Kunes still on defense. They're also good on escort because they're pretty fast. But the ToTAs are good on offense and defense as well. So let's go ahead and put this guy on attack. Keep our defense line here. Nope, let's actually fill up the defense line entirely. Still nothing on escort. Once again, you're still dying often. And help the units there by dropping the Void Sphere. Drop another one there to kind of help. But as you can see with her units, they are not very ranged. A lot of them are very melee, so they don't really get to do much to me. Well, over here I can drop another Void Sphere and just use this Monger here. I'm going to move because I don't know what's about to spawn there. I don't really want to get one shot right now. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to help the bird over here. Drop another Void Sphere. And then let's stop this channel. And then let's go ahead and kill this one here. Totems are taking care of that. We can stop this spawn here by focusing on this one. And it doesn't look like this enemy team actually has anything that we need to worry about. So we can just keep dropping the Void Sphere and the totems and just know that we're going to be able to clean everything up here. We're going to basically race it. If you look in the upper left corner, you can see the life on your own totem. So I know whether or not I need to be alarmed or concerned about how much damage my totem's taken, and I don't, because we're going to clean up all the escorts fast enough that before they're going to get a chance to actually kill my totem. So even if they were to kill my totem at this point, it wouldn't matter. Like, there's enough units that we have alive that they would finish the fight. Let's collect here. Basically no reward, but it's fine. Good. Buy another unit from Navali. Check here. No Jade Hulk, but there is a War Caller with an item here. So I will typically take items off just to see how much they're worth. This is 250, so if we do end up needing more stuff, we can use it. We'll check Utula. Doesn't have an item we can use. Mata, unfortunately, is a little short from what we could actually use. We couldn't sell any other items to actually get the Spearfisher that we want. But I'm just going to go ahead and sell the Massive Chisel in order to get the Spearfisher, just because we want some extra units that are going to be defensive here. And then we're just filling out our board. So if you ever have items that you can sell in order to fill out your board instead of units, typically that's recommended. It's going to make things a lot stronger. I do not believe that Malachite's Artifice is worth anything. Yeah, I'm pretty positive it's not. So we're just going to go for Comb here. Comb does have better rewards than... Well, so here's an option. Typically, I will try to keep 2 units going into round 6, just because that gives you 2 rewards, two chances at good loot. So if you do have a situation like this, where this person already has a loss and this person doesn't, you do want to target the person who doesn't have a loss. Just because it means that they will... that unit will still be alive even after you beat them. So that gives you 2 rolls into round 6. Then you can basically go after the unit afterwards from there. So let's go and do this again. I will, if I do have any of these, the Tuataras or the Honored Sages or the Honored Warriors still on the front line, I'll take them off and just replace them with whatever units I have. And again, I'll run the Tuataras on my personal character for escort. Leave everything else. Again, drop your totems, drop a Void Sphere. Gotta keep moving. Let's drop a Void Sphere here, and you gotta try to keep an eye out for things against these comps that have more ranged units like this. It's better to kind of like you get a little taps in, and then you're basically trying to move, because you're going to get targeted a lot more often by these. So you see here, I'll drop a few things and then I'll typically move, or I'll just be following and using my units as basically body shields to prevent myself from getting killed. If you do see that your enemy again has one of these Death's Guides with their Chaos Degen, typically just want to leave it for last. A lot of times your units will still go try to drain it down anyways, but just ignore it. Help your units kill the other stuff first, because they'll just keep throwing themselves away and dying in that totem repeatedly. So sometimes you have to go clean other stuff up for them because they're not really paying attention to things. So, or they don't have targeting priority. Like they won't purposely avoid something that has a degen around it just to go focus another tower, unfortunately. But I mean, that also means if you do pick up a Death Guide unit, it is going to help you out in the long run. These units are incredibly tanky, or they just have a lot of ES mainly. So if you have anything that has consistent damage, once the ES is down, you can kind of get them down pretty quickly here. Oh, let's see here. Ramako. So we have 700 Ramako. Again, we can get a Spear Dancer here. I know some people are very much in love with the Sunset Sage. To me personally, the Sunset Sage versus the Spear Dancer, I haven't personally noticed a difference for how my build plays for them, but I do know I'm going to get enough units this turn that I can sell this to get a Sunset Sage just for this. We're going to be able to get our unit from Navali, and I think that's going to be it for favor, unless we want to buy. We could have bought an item here instead of picking up the Sunset Sage, but we can just buy the item anyways. I know I'm not going to be using any of these units here, and we can just throw it on the Sage itself. That regen item's not too bad. The main items that I will try to focus are Umu's Coals, because what you can see here, they add a lot of respawn time. The enemy monsters typically have a respawn time of 2 to 3 seconds, so adding 10 seconds to that's pretty massive. And then this is the other one I will focus, is the Cyclic Bauble, because 100% increased cooldown recovery rate, that's going to be for their spells, so I'll typically put this on a Tidecaller or on a Fieldmaster. So the Fieldmaster with that will just be putting out, twice as many walls as they normally would, and the Tidecallers are just throwing out those waves a lot more often than they normally would. So Comb has a little bit better loot. He does have the +1 maximum fire res tattoo. Tahanuku doesn't have anything of note, and Awaken Sextants is about 25 chaos and Sextants. So let's go ahead and do that one here. Sunset Sage is going to be good. It's going to be a better flanker than this Hinakora's Horn. Gonna move this here. We can do this, and then we can move the Kunekune to the back line over here and give ourselves a Sage and just the 2 Atara. You know what, let's do 4 2 Ataras. This one doesn't really matter. This is like min-maxing for nothing basically, but we're gonna go ahead and do this. Thing as usual, throw totems down the middle, get a Void Sphere up. As you can see, these are all trying to target me right now. I basically can't really stop to channel anything right now, but I can interrupt them and bother them and throw spheres down. I am going to help over here. I'm probably going to die because of it, but we're going to try. A lot more of tapping and moving. Oops. A lot more tapping and moving here against units like this that have a lot of ranged. But use it to your advantage if you have body blockers with escort or like this. As you see, the Fieldmaster is going to help prevent any ranged projectiles from hitting me because of the fences. So we're just going to go ahead and help him out. And it's part of what makes the unit so strong. Spear Guards are another really good unit to get because of the proxy shield. They will prevent you from being hit while you're draining. So those are really good on escort. They're not something I actively target because they're pretty expensive. But they are something that you can focus if it something that you want to, or if you get, you happen to get yourself with a ton of reward there and you don't want to just get a Thunderbird, you could always get a Storm Guard as well, or Storm Guard instead, or if you're in a situation where you already have 4 Thunderbirds, things like that, which it does actually happen quite often. Sometimes you'll just be getting a ton of the same faction's favor, so it seems to kind of be like that, where if you're not seeing one specific faction's favor at all, you're not going to see it for the rest of the match. So this is going to be the last match here, but we do need to lose once to the enemy, most likely. Before you go and forcefully lose, you want to make sure you buy the unit from Navali first. And then we want to look. We'll see what the reward is. Glacial Cascade, I do not believe is being played by anyone, so it's probably not going to be very expensive, even though this is 2120, but let's look it up real fast. Glacial Cascade. Gem level 20, quality 20. 2120, gem Glacial Cascade is 5 chaos, so that's not important enough to bother for. I'm going for like 1 div plus rewards here. We want something big. So the fastest way that we have found, I will typically use this as well to count how many extra units I have. We do know we have 1 extra to Atara, so we can sell this at the beginning of the next round here. We're going to purposely lose to him, and the best way to do this is to just log out to character select. This will mean we have lost to him, and we can go ahead and go back in and just go right back into the trials. Go ahead and save this, go back into All of the Dead. Hopefully they put that patch in that's going to give us that forfeit button sooner, but this is what we have, so this is what we get to do for now. We have the 500 from Navali. I do like the Barbed Dagger. I don't see anything specific that we want to buy. We're going to have enough favor with the 1 unit we can sell already in order to get another Spear Dancer from Ramako. So I am going to get this Barbed Dagger here. And then we'll just sell that 1 extra to Atara we had in order to get the Spear Dancer. And then we'll just throw this Barbed Dagger on our Tidecaller. I typically will just throw those on something that has big AoE, but if I have like a Jade Hulk or a Raging Caldera, I'll typically throw those on somewhere on there as well. Oh, we got Bell Timber. It's not worth anything, but that's what we got to do. That's the best chance we got. I'm going to throw a Spear Dancer on here. Spear Dancers are pretty good on Escort as well, because they do have pretty fast movement. So if you're running around and teleporting around, kind of like how I do, you'll have a good chance. If you do see a Titanic Shell here, you do typically want to target them first. Because that Ravager attacked there, we can't really do anything about that Titanic Shell yet. So we're just going to have to go over here and drain something away from those other things over there right now. Can't do anything about the cremations once they're already down, so we just got to kind of stay away from them. And then we're going to just continue to try to kill the Titanic Shell. They don't really do the shielding thing. I believe they only do it if they're on defense, but I will still typically target them first because they never turn around, they never try to stop you. They just kind of sit there while you channel away. So we planned pretty well, so as you can see here, this is a pretty fast matchup for the final match here. And then, you know, we can kind of channel away with no issues, and hopefully we had a good final reward here. As you can see, it's pretty clean. I know my totems are doing some damage, but this can be done on most builds. It doesn't really matter. Well, I know melee hits Fortify is definitely going to be better than this Omen Revenge, because that thing's not worth anything, so hopefully this is worth something. I don't actually know. Well, looks like it's about 20 chaos, so that's what we have. Bell Timber ain't worth anything. Always remember to click Kinekora. You gotta get your lore. Yeah. So other than that, the other big thing, I guess, I will typically wait to sell my tattoos in bulk. For most things, for honored tattoos, you can just sell them at whatever price they are, but for the like smaller tattoos here, as you can see, if you wait till you get 2 or more of these are typically going to be worth a lot more. So these saying they're 7 chaos each for like 1, but if I list all 7 of them at once, I could probably sell them for 11 to 12 chaos each, no problem. Someone will just go buy them all in bulk because, you know, everyone likes to just do less trading if they can. So yeah, try out any of these new things that I went over today. If you have any questions about them, let me know. Put them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have and help you out however I can. Other than that, see you in the next one.